I haven't. Yeah, she says she was.
Perfect. Thank you all for coming tonight. I know that this is kind of late and on a rainy day, so thank you so much, and please continue eating. We know that we're like taking you in the middle of dinner, so please feel free. One of the things that I always just love about Bennett is the fact that we have now known your students for since they were in 9th grade, and we've gotten to know you all as well, and so we hope that we really do see you all as family, and so as family you just get up and you do what you need, and no problems at all. But thank you so much for being here tonight. We are so excited because we have started talking to our 11th graders for a while now about college, and I want to say college in like a very broad way of saying we've been talking about since the beginning of the year what they really see, where they really see themselves going after they graduate from Bennett. And we're so excited. I keep on talking to all of these college admissions representatives, and I like beam when I'm saying like we'll have our first graduating class next year. So we're very excited. But we're really appreciative of you being here too, because we know that a partnership with you is going to help them to be successful. So with that, just to kind of show you, we have a lot to go over tonight. I do not want you to feel overwhelmed by hearing all of these things. What I hope that you hear is that we are here to help you and your student go where is the best fit for them next year, and they have a lot of support. So if there's a time when you feel like, I'm just worried about my child, they're coming home and they're not talking about these things, please know we are talking about them. And if you have any questions, the last slide here has all of our emails and information, and please always feel free to reach out to any one of us. And if I can't answer it, then I know that someone in our group will be able to. But just to start off, to know that we're going to go through kind of a timeline to show you what we have been doing these last 3 years, and then how it's already started ramping up talking about colleges. I was just thinking on the way here, like we have students who are applying to these different college prep scholarship programs, whether it is Chicago Scholars or Thrive or a variety of others. I know I've talked to students about Posse. Like these are things that students have already been doing this year, and it's going to ramp up even more. So I hope you know, like we are busy trying to get them excited because it is a lot of work. And so we want you to know that we are here to support all of you. But before I begin, I just want to say that we're going to start with IvyWise in just a second, and Robin is here to join us. I was explaining to someone today that IvyWise was ahead of the pandemic, and the fact that it's always been kind of like a Zoom, savvy, organization. So Robin is joining us virtually, but then we're going to have Andrew take over, and Andrew's going to talk about academic approach, because I'm sure you've heard about lots of test prep that they've had over the years. Christina is also going to talk about how she has been able to support our students in testing as well. Mr. Moran is going to be talking about Mastery Transcript. I'm going to be really talking about the college process and what we've been doing so far in advisory. Ms. Yeager is here to just chime in because she has been with your student throughout these years, and she's such a great resource. So I always kind of say something and then I look to Ms. Yeager and I'm like, Ms. Yeager, do you have anything to add? Which is so lovely. And then we have Emily here who's going to be talking to you about internships, and that's something we're so excited to be able to finally provide our students with that learning opportunity, because we know the pandemic has really put kind of a damper on those things. But we think it's so important, and we're so excited because our students are ready for those things.
Just a quick note, if anything, there's a lot. We are currently streaming this. There will be a video of this afterwards. You'll get all the materials as well. So if something was like, wait, what are they talking about? We'll have materials for you as well.
All right. So with that, we're going back. You know, in 2020, we started with IvyWise. I think that I remember all of you being in the collaboratory, and we had a whole presentation. And we actually had IvyWise in person, which was so fun. But we gave a whole presentation, and then that kind of kicked off your relationship with IvyWise. And so with that, I will turn it over to Robin.
Great, thank you so much. So on behalf of IvyWise and my fellow counselors, Alicia and Judy, I just want to thank Bennett and Ms. Newberry for inviting me for tonight's meeting. I'll be brief. For those of you I don't directly work with, my name is Robin, and I'm pleased to just spend a few minutes this evening discussing some of the work that IvyWise counselors have done and will be doing with the Bennett students during the second half of their junior year. So when we began our work together a few years ago, we had the opportunity to meet with both students and their families, and we began to get to know each other and just discuss broadly the high school experience, as well as each student's interests and passions. During the students' sophomore years, we started to identify ways for the students to start to deepen their interests and how Bennett's unique programming could support them in that exploration. So now, as we look towards the important months ahead, I just want to take a couple minutes here to sort of detail the work that IvyWise will be doing with Bennett students as they prepare for life beyond Bennett, life beyond graduation. So this spring, we will be presenting 3 webinars on the following topics. On April 6th, there's going to be a webinar about researching colleges, visiting schools, both in person and virtually, and creating a balanced college list. On May 4th, there will be a resume building, activities review, interview prep, essentially everything that indicates who the student is beyond their high school record, their high school transcript. And then on May 11th, we'll be providing an overview of the Common Application, which is a universal application accepted by hundreds of universities and colleges all across the United States. After each webinar, the students will be given an assignment related to the webinar topic, and these assignments will then be reviewed in the counselor's individual sessions with those students to help students make steady progress on their application process or their post-graduation goals. In the fall, one-on-one sessions with the IvyWise counselors will ramp up as students start to work more specifically on their individual college applications or tasks related to their plans after high school. And IvyWise counselors will work with students through things such as their Common Application, filling that out, working on their personal essay, working on supplemental essays, interview preparation and resume development, as well as any other related tasks to their post-graduation goals. So we look forward to continuing our work together, and we're really excited to see what wonderful plans unfold for each and every one of you students. So thank you so much for having me tonight, and I hope you have a great rest of the evening.
Thanks so much, Robin. So, absolutely. I was going to say that one of the things that I've been doing even over the years is just having regular meetings with IvyWise. So if you have any questions or concerns and you're like, do I ask IvyWise? Do I ask Bennett? You can ask both of us. You can ask me. We will make sure that you get that information. Because I know that it is a little bit tricky of being like, well, I don't know like their hours or anything like that. We really do have this great working relationship. So please always feel to reach out. And with that, I will turn it over to Andrew because he's going to be talking about the test prep.
Hi, my name is Andrew Ferguson. I'm with Academic Approach. We, as you all, have been working very, very hard toward the SAT that we took last week ago. I'm here tonight to I know you guys have already been a part of that program for quite some time, But I wanted to give you a little bit of information about academic approach and then get into some topics regarding ACT and SAT, how they're related. And then you can feel, if you have questions for me, they have my email address. You can email me directly, and I would love to address any of those questions that you may have. I guess perfect. This is just background. We've been around since 2001. As you are all really aware, we worked on building SAT and ACT scores through academic skill sets, rigorous learning, reading, English skills, math skills, and making it a very, as the name suggests, academic approach towards these exams. And of course, we're proud to support our students' success. We love that part. So this is an interesting, and I bet you it's got shrunk and it's going to look really weird, but it's okay.
I
look good.
I was gonna say, I did make copies. I don't know if that is helpful.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So ACT and SAT. On the surface, the two tests look very similar to each other. They appear as if it's the same thing. They are different. They have a lot of the same skill sets, and we explain to students all the time. If a student were to come to us, just an individual student, and say, what should I do? I would tell them, take both. Find out which one plays to your strengths, because they are not necessarily always, they're not going to be both the exact same number comparably, and they're also not going to be feel the same. I think SAT is a test that helps a lot of students feel very comfortable about finishing the exam. They give you a lot of time to do the test, but you may feel as if the questions are a little bit harder. Whereas ACT is a sprint from the very beginning. The sections give you very little time, and you are asked to do a whole lot. So as you see here, even if you were to compare, I'm going to jump over here. If you were to compare the two tests section by section, English is 45 minutes and 75 questions. Over here, the same section is only 44 questions, but you get 35 minutes to do it. The big difference being reading. For many students, finishing the reading section of this test, for those of you who are doing SAT, was the very first section of the exam. On the SAT, you get 65 minutes to do the reading, to do 52 questions. You only get 35 minutes to do 40 questions on the ACT. So the trade-off looks like SAT. Why wouldn't you go SAT? You get so much more time. Well, the SAT is, I would say, the ceiling's a little higher in terms of how far they can push you in terms of the level of vocabulary, the level of reading, whereas ACT pretty much stays in that 10th, 11th grade level and doesn't go beyond. So it stays within your comfort level in terms of your reading and your vocabulary level, but you have to, the speed is certainly an issue. They make you move a lot faster than the SAT does. Math's interesting. I kind of always look at math as it's half your score on the SAT. So it's 800 of the 1,600 points, whereas it's only a fourth of your score on the ACT. But in terms of material, in terms of how it's being tested, they're covering the same topics. They just like to do it in a few different ways. I'll put it that way. ACT is more straight out of your textbook kind of math. Like, you should feel very comfortable with the way they're asking you questions. Whereas SAT may make you jump through a few hoops to get the answer. And only a portion of the math can you use a calculator on the SAT, whereas another portion of the math on the SAT you cannot use a calculator. They want to see that you can do that pencil and paper math still and not rely on that very convenient calculator that you can use on the ACT from start to finish. I will add the last thing about the two sections, and the one that scares people away from the ACT more often than it should is the science section. Science is not a science test. It is not a section testing your ability to do high school level science. It is testing your ability to read and interpret data, graphs, charts. It is wanting to see your problem solving ability. SAT looks like there's no science section. but there is. They've just taken all those graphs and tables and put them in all the other sections. So while you're going along and doing grammar, all of a sudden a pie chart will pop up and ask you to answer a question about it. As you're reading a story about DNA analysis on the SAT, all of a sudden a chart and a table and data will be there and you'll be asked to do it. There are 26 questions on the SAT that would classify as science type questions, but there is no science section. They just like to creatively pop them in. Science, it scares people, but it shouldn't. Don't let that deter you from trying out the ACT. It's not as bad as it sounds. So is that? Oh, I think the next one.
One more.
Yeah, one more slide. This is just a timing factor. ACT a little bit longer. SAT a little bit shorter, but once again, like I said, math's half your score on the SAT, only a quarter of your score here. But and as you can tell, did you guys take the SAT with an essay, or did you no essay requirement?
No essay.
No essay. Good. Okay. ACT still hanging on to that essay, but I think the names of the schools that require it, I've never heard of. So there are very few schools that require that essay, and I don't know how much longer the essay on the ACT is going to be around. But for now, it's still there as an option.
I don't know, I know we spoke briefly about this
Yeah.
here, but if you want to just mention kind of like when people are asking about their test optional,
Yeah.
if you want to just mention like how you advise students when they ask those questions about how much time how many times should I take the test, or how much time should I prepare for it, even though you all have been given so much preparation, which is great.
Yeah.
How would you respond to something?
Okay, so in terms of how many times you take it, I would say there's so many urban legends about these tests. Like you can only take it 3 times before they start averaging the scores, and you can take this test as many times as you like. I would suggest a normal amount and get guidance from your college counseling team here at Bennett. I would tell you take it in terms of your comfort level, and if you're continuing to see progress, and if you're putting forth the work. If you're not doing anything in between taking it, if all you're doing is just keep on taking it and not preparing in between and expecting more results, that's not a good plan. But in terms of, as long as you are putting in the work, doing the practice, I would say our average number of times our students take the test is usually between 2 and 3 times. I think it's like 2.8 if we want to be exact. So I think the first time, and I think all of them just took it for the first time. I think the first time you learn more about yourself as a test taker than anything. Like you go in there and you didn't think you were going to be nervous, and then all of a sudden, whoa, I'm pretty nervous. And then there's a difference between sitting at school and doing SAT with academic approach and 8 a.m. on a Saturday and taking this test. And it has, I think I tell my students, I want you to go in there that first time and be a sponge. I want you to soak up all that information from that. What did you learn about yourself as a test taker? Like, did you pace yourself too much and you ran out of time? Did you feel like you were rushing and you ended up with too much time at the end? Could you have used your time a little wisely, or a little differently, I should say? I would say that first time when the scores come back, learn from it and address those issues the next time you take it. You shouldn't be thinking about this as all your eggs in one basket scenario for one test. There's too many variables that first time, and too much you learn about yourself the first time. And test optional is a good thing. It is the test scores and your grades. Those are all things that you should be listing to your college counseling team. But if you do have questions about certain schools or what you should do about this score and what's a good score, or anything about scores, and you want to email me, the school has my email address, and like I said, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah, I think that's one of those conversations that Ms. Romer and I were just like, do we talk about those things? I was like, no, let's just talk about the test right now, and then when we get scores back, that's when we can have that follow-up conversation. But thank you.
Thank you. So I think this is a really good segue into where? Right here. So this 11th grade class is the first class at Bennett to ever take the SAT, and you guys did such a nice job. So round of applause to 11th grade. Everyone was on time. Everyone everyone was here. So we're all very proud of you. I know those tests aren't fun, so just kudos to you guys. So students took the SAT last week, so a week ago. Their scores will be available April 15th. So everyone should have a College Board account. We created those in advisory. Their scores now come digitally, so we don't have to wait weeks or sometimes a month, I think it was when I took it, for your scores. So you'll be able to get those, which is great because you'll be able to see your scores in the SAT to decide if you even want to take the ACT. So at Bennett, we are offering the ACT, so you have two options. I decided to select the ACT with essay, as mentioned, in case you do have a school that requires it. At least you have one of those tests that have that essay on it. So ACT will be April 27th. It is during the school day. It is optional. We're encouraging everyone to take it, so that way you can kind of see which one you prefer. Maybe you felt better taking the ACT and your scores were better, so you want to stick with that one. Although you haven't had prep for it yet, or any prep. So ACT is optional, and it will have the essay. Another component is we are doing the digital format. So students can use their computers, their software downloaded, and it will be during the school day on your computer. Additional testing. So these ones, the SAT we already took, and the ACT we're going to take in April. These are the two tests that we are offering at Bennett that we're providing during the school day. That doesn't mean those are the only test dates that you can take this. So there are multiple test dates. These are the ones that are left for the remainder of this school year. So SAT has two more dates. They have May 7th and then June 4th. The biggest thing to know about these, you would have to take them at a test center. So Bennett is not a test center. We do not have the size. We don't qualify as a test center. We don't have enough students to be a test center. So they allow us to take these school day ones, but anything else outside of those school day ones, you would have to sign up for a test center. So if you are interested in taking these tests, so after you get your scores from the SAT, you take the ACT if you'd like, and you want to register for one of these, just email me and I can help you get started, because that one you have to register, whereas we registered you for the school ones. So and then ACT has additional dates. These are just the dates for the remainder of the school year. They have not published yet their fall dates, but you can expect at least one or two in the fall. So if you wanted to take it, you say you wanted to do prep over the summer, there will be a fall date. They just haven't put it out yet. Okay. And then lastly, I also handle everything related to learning needs and accommodations. So if that is something that, if I haven't already spoken to you about, and you have questions about how to get accommodations, what type of support is available for some of these tests, or even related to college support, I'd be your person. So, and yeah, if you have any questions related to testing, accommodations, or anything like that, you can reach out to me. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks. All right, and then we keep on going. So I just wanted to touch briefly on this because it's something that Ms. Jaeger and I are really talking to students about in advisory, which we started last year, is that really to take advantage of the summer. I know that I'm also excited when summer comes around because I'm like, oh, let's just relax. But there's really amazing opportunities that your student can take advantage of over the summer. And what that does is it develops skills, but it also shows colleges that you're gonna have, an engaged student coming to your school. So we started last year in advisory. We have an amazing external opportunities Google Classroom. So if you're like, I've never heard about these external opportunities, ask your child when they get home to show you the external opportunities Google Classroom. It has a lot of things. It's a little bit overwhelming, but you can search by interest. We did last year, IUIs did present actually on that. So if any of you were on that webinar, I remember the next day students saying that they were looking up things that some of the IUIs counselors actually presented on. But some of the opportunities that students have actually done, like taken advantage of last year, they took college courses through Northwestern, DePaul, Princeton, internships, traveled to the Galapagos Islands. I mean, come on. Visiting family outside of Chicago. And I know that like for some of you are like, yeah, well, that's what we're gonna do this summer. That's awesome. Like those are experiences that your student can talk about in their application, but I'm encouraging those students, I'm like, so what do you do when you're there? Like, like really kind of take advantage of when you're traveling, go and have these new experiences. Sports teams and camps, working summer jobs, which I know a lot of students have talked about that. Those are amazing skills that you are going to be able to talk about on your college application. And then a variety of summer workshops. So just know, yes.
And then in thinking about writing the essay for your college application, in any of those experiences, you have things to write about. So just like Ms. Newberry said, going in with a mindset that I'm here to learn and to take away some stories.
And I know it says variety of summer workshops that like you're interested in. I know Ms. Yeager has even talked about, this summer, things that it doesn't even have to be like a deep passion right now. You're like, ooh, that sounds really cool. And trying those things, that is what colleges want to learn about. Even if you have, and I hope this doesn't happen, but even if you have like not a great experience, that is something that you can write about. Say, I tried it. Did not work out the way that I really wanted it to, but I had this experience. It was really, really hard, or it was something that now I know I don't want to major in this, whatever it may be. So just to keep that in mind, because we really are encouraging students to say like, you know what, enjoy your summer, but be also productive. So moving on, but thanks, Ms. Yeager. Do you like how we have that partnership? Anyway, it's so nice. So now we're going to kind of move into kind of these things that we have really been more explicit in talking to students about. So I'm just going to touch on this really briefly, but this is something that we'll actually come back to in the future. SCORE is a college search database program that we have used. And the three main goals that we're using it for is to find your match. And what we're saying is finding the schools that match what you are looking for in a college and a university. So it's going to match whether it is like location, program, we're going to go into all of this, but it's helping you to find those schools that you're interested in. It's a place where your child is going to keep their list of schools that they're exploring. And then if it makes it to the final list, it's going to create a list of schools that they're going to be applying to. Okay? And this could be 4-year institutions. This can be 2-year institutions as well. So I really like SCORE that has a lot of information. They can stay on that site, that database, and they can search all of this. They can go on tours. It has a lot. And then the last thing is they can sign up for visits and different events. And this year has still been like very difficult with COVID, but we have had like people coming in and like they just log on to Zoom, and I've had students log on and just say hi. Sometimes I'll be like, this is their lunch, so excuse them while they're eating, they're gonna turn their camera off. But I have been impressed by students' questions and interest, and so it's been a really good resource. And like I said, we will definitely continue to be talking about this throughout this year and as well as next year. But this is a really great resource for your child. And with that, I'm turning it over to Mr. Moran for our Mastery Transcript.
Yes, thanks, Jen. So before I talk about the Mastery Transcript, I do want to mention one other summer opportunity that actually is exclusive to Bennett students. This year we, and this is actually really relevant if you're interested in getting college credit before you even go to college. So this year we developed a partnership with Arizona State University. Arizona State University has something called Universal Learner. They offer online courses through their university. A student can sign up for the course and take the course. If the student decides, I don't want to do this class, it doesn't work, I can't keep up with everything, no harm, no foul, we cross it off. If the student finishes the course and wants to get credit, all they do is tell me, we connect with ASU, and the student gets college credit to go into college. So what that means is that those of you who are interested in this could walk into school next year with a transcript that has 1, 2, 3 Arizona State University college courses on your transcript. Several years ago, I talked about why we don't do AP. We don't do AP because it's much better to just get the credit. Essentially what that means is you now have, according to this college, you went to ASU for 3 classes. So this is something that will be an option for those of you who have time this summer. I'm not going to say they're easy. They're college courses, so they are challenging. But for some of you who might be interested in doing that this summer and saving a lot of money, you think about college costs, every class is probably $6,000, $7,000. Taking 3 classes before you go to college, well, there's $21,000 in your pocket, sort of, but close enough. So I just wanted to mention that. That's something that we've had a couple students who've tried it already. I'm going to talk to the juniors in the coming, we didn't want to do it with everybody during the school year because I do think it is a lot to do while you're doing a full-time schedule, but we'll talk about it for the summer where you can work on that as well. Now, let's talk a little bit of Mastery Transcript, Mastery Transcripts. So all of the students in here have met with me last week to talk a little bit about their transcripts. One of the great things about being here, you're now going to be able to reap the benefits of all the advantages of what we call the trimester system. In high school, typically you have 8 semesters for graduation. Last trimester, as of the end of second trimester, we finished our 8th trimester, which means almost everyone in this room has almost a full high school education with a year and a half to go, which means this allows students now to start to show different things about themselves, to create transcripts that make them stand out from all the others. How we do that is through use of this thing that I've probably talked about several times. You may have heard me talk about it, called the Mastery Transcript. When I talked to you way back when they were 9th graders, about 180 schools were using it. It's now up to 405 schools that are using it. This has been used at now over 200 colleges have already accepted students with this transcript. So in terms of where it is lining up with our students, we're hitting it at just the perfect time where it's become ubiquitous. So the idea of a mastery transcript, I'm going to show you briefly what a mastery transcript looks like. Let me pull this up. So what a student's transcript looks like in the mastery transcript is that they have credits here. And then you'll see these lines. Lines are completed credits, dotted lines are credits in progress, and you can see each one of these kind of lines up to what all the other kids in all the other schools are taking. English, world languages, social studies, arts, science and engineering, math. All of these things are exactly the way other students have it, but our students have been putting them together very differently than the other students. They've been putting them together through project-based learning, through activities and internships, or through seminars. We'll talk about internships in a bit. And how that ends up happening is that they end up with credits that look almost identical to their peers. Chemistry, physics, advanced biology, advanced chemistry, computer science. These are all credits that will show up on their transcripts so that when they graduate or when they send these off to colleges, everything will look exactly as their peers looks at public schools and other private schools. So I know some of you have asked around the way, how does this all work? How does this all come together? Well, it comes together in this way, so that we get to do all the fun stuff, but then kick out something that doesn't leave college admissions going, how does that work? So this is how that works. The other thing, and so everyone, and I'm not going to go through all of this because I want all the students now have access to their transcript. Over the next year and a half, they're going to have the opportunity to start adding advanced credits by doing work that will demonstrate that advanced credit. So you can ask them to show you what their transcript looks like. Every student has access to their transcript as of right now. They also have, in that transcript, they have places to put evidence. So our students get an opportunity to add evidence to their transcript so that when the college admissions office looks at it, they can see what the student did to earn that credit. So as students begin to have interests in specialty areas, those are things that can show up so that their transcripts can look a little different than others. The nice thing about this is that it's quick, it's easy to use. The Mastery Transcript Consortium has done all the work to negotiate and talk with colleges about making sure that this is a perfectly acceptable transcript and will fit right in with every other transcript. So like I said, 200 different colleges have already accepted students at other schools with this transcript. So our students are walking in right at the perfect time. And so I just wanted to take a minute and introduce you to that. I know that I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Like I said, ask your student to show you theirs and show you maybe where they're thinking of going over the next year and a half. because every student now, starting basically at this point, has the opportunity to really have some choice in what they're doing. So when they're thinking about what internship they're taking, what courses they're taking, what PBLs what they want to do in PBL, all of those things are ways in which now they can stand out to the different types of places that they think are interesting. So I just wanted to mention that, and then I'll hand it back to Jen.
Thanks, Greg. So just to kind of piggyback off of that too, like this was another part that Andrew and I were talking about at the beginning of just recognizing he actually does academic approach at the school that I was at prior to this. And like, just like recognizing, I was just like, like there's no way that our students are evaluated the same way as a student from that school. They just can't be. And so in some ways, I think that's a really great leg up in a way of us saying that like schools might ask for more evidence, right? But that evidence might be in we want you to come and visit our college and we want to have a conversation with you. Like we might actually ask you to come in and talk about some of your things. And for some of you, you might be like, oh my gosh, that's too scary. But for others of you, you have been practicing this now for 3 years. You have been, presenting at demo night. You have been creating these very professional websites. And so to have an opportunity to do that, I hope that you feel like that is a strength of yours. Because those are the things that other students, if they are submitting a GPA and, their class rank or something like that, schools are like, okay, great, I can compute that really easily. And for you, they can't. Your transcript, this is something on Mastery Transcript, when you get together with all the counselors on Mastery Transcript, they're like, you can't be put in the pile to just be like, okay, they have the right GPA, they have the right, whatever. You have to go into a separate one where they have people who actually look through and really read it. There's a thing where colleges will ask people to read through applications for them. So like I get asked every year, hey, do you want to read for certain schools? And basically it just means like, will you read through and you basically give them do they go to the next, level, the next section, right? And they're like, you can never have outside people doing these kind of mastery transcripts. They don't know how to read them. And I do think that separates you from that. So just so you kind of are aware of that. Okay, so this is where I have really come in to talk to your student. I have met with every single person here. They have filled out a survey, we've talked about it, and I was really trying to get into the head of your child, and it's hard sometimes because a lot of times they're like, I don't know, right? And so we talk about like, what do you think, like when you envision school, like what does that look like to you? And for some students, it goes right to kind of like a program. For other students, it really does go right to, and we'll kind of go through kind of this area. Like, is it close to home? Is that the thing that you, like when you envision where you're going to school? Some students are like, I want a big, like school spirit sports team, Other students are like, New York City. And I'm like, okay, that's a place. Tell me about the school that you're going to, but they're like New York City. Other students are like, I'm kind of open to everything. So lots of ideas, right? Lots of ideas. And so what we're trying to do is kind of saying like, you know what? When you said this, you really lit up. When you talked about this, you didn't really care. So maybe that's not a priority. I can tell you this, that most students are like, yeah, price is important. And I have to tell you, price is already important to me and my family with my kids, and they're nowhere near going to college. So like, it is something that we talk about really openly because we know that college costs a lot of money. And so we want to make sure that wherever your priorities are and your students' priorities, we want to make sure that we support them in finding the school that fits all of them. I always tell people, I'm like, you're going to have a list of schools, and the goal is to be happy on every single list of school or every opportunity. And so if you get into one, that's awesome. You're going to be super happy. If you get into all of them, I think that's actually the harder one because now you have to make that decision, right? But what we hope is that you find a good fit in all of your schools. You should not be disappointed because you only get into one. You should be super excited. I got into this amazing school and it's going to be great. So these are the things that we talked about in our individual college conference. So now these are the things I just want to say. I created this slide, and then I feel like we have done like several things since then. So for example, we talked about they already took the SAT, that was last week. On Monday this week, every single student here went to the University of Illinois at Chicago for a college visit preview day. We were a little bit late because they really needed to get Chick-fil-A or, their lunch. But I feel like that was very, like, college appropriate, Like, it was like, I do have to say, when I told the woman in admissions, I was like, I'm so sorry. It took us a little bit longer. I, like, misread how, like, they do not walk as fast as I do to the L, like, all of these life experiences. And she was just like, that's so great that they're able to eat here. Like, she was like that part of the college experience. But we have another college visit to North Park coming up April 18th, I'm pretty sure. And so I want to give students opportunities to visit schools. I always say this, I'm like, I can name 10 schools in the city of Chicago that are amazing schools. A lot of them are right here. And there's even more once you go out towards the suburbs or go out a couple hours away or within a couple hours. I remember having a conversation with a student and saying, they said, I want to stay close to home. I was like, well, what does close to home mean? Because if you're just saying Chicago, there's like a dozen schools that you can look at. If you're saying 2 hours, like you've gone to Milwaukee. Like if you want to, like Illinois and Milwaukee area, right? I'm like 5 hours. I'm like, you're hitting Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio. Like I was just like, that is like a weekend trip. So it like, tell me what is close to home to you, So we do a lot of these things. So the next thing I really want to tell you is this will come, but like the next step for all of you, I'm going to be sending an email following up with all these slides, information, our emails, but I really want to have a family college conference with all of you. So that's basically going to be me, your student, and a parent or guardian. And what that means is I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, because I know that sometimes I have conversations with parents and I'm like, yeah, New York City, huh? And they're like, what? And you're kind of like, let's all circle back together and like talk about it a little bit more, because I know that number one, when you are a teenager, you watch a movie and you're just like, yes, I'm going to California, And then you watch another movie and you're just like, New York City is pretty amazing. And you're like, oh, those are very different places, And so you really want to know, like, what is it about these schools that really, you do know that was a movie. That was not real, right? So we have these conversations, but it's really important that we're all on the same page. And so that's what I want to do. I think that so next step. So I'm going to send you a link and you can tell me what are good times for us to meet. If it is easier for you to hop on a Zoom, your child and I will be in my office unless it's better in the evening. And I'm happy to do evening ones as well, because I know that you work and that does not always work to take time out during the day. But I have evening opportunities. We can do it early in the morning, like during advisory or even before school. I want to work with you, but I really would love to be able to have one meeting with you and your students so we know the plan moving forward. And you can tell me if there's any special circumstances that I need to support your child more, because I know sometimes that isn't the top of their mind when they're talking to me. So during the email, in the email, it will have like a sign up, and then it will just have a survey for you to fill out so I can prepare. This is something that I know I talked to Mr. Moran and Christina about, like, if there's something that you're like, oh, I really want to talk about testing, or I really want to talk about the Mastery Transcript more, let me know in that survey so I can prepare and make sure that I'm answering your questions. So like I said, priorities for your family, additional supports, and next step. And then to really like help your student research and visit colleges. So if anyone is traveling anywhere over spring break, find a college or university where you're going to visit. If you're not going anywhere, I remember like my brother had baseball games, so I wasn't able to go on spring break trips. It was not fair, in my opinion, but guess what? I said there's so many, like, that you could do a day trip to a lot of schools here. So that would be amazing. And then be productive over the summer, like I said. Miss Jennifer, I love it. Yes.
Also, students, Ms. Newberry emails you, and I know because she CCs me. And sometimes we don't always communicate back. So I want to encourage you in front of your parents, because I'm calling, I told you I would tell them. I would encourage you to respond back when she's asking, do you want to come to this college visit? If you want to, say yes then so that she knows I have 15 people coming with me. Because I think she was a little bit surprised the morning of to have the whole class leave with her. So please communicate with her.
You guys just are so persuasive to your peers. I had 10, and then all of a sudden the day of, people were pulling out permission slips. Like, I was like, oh, okay.
So please communicate with her, with myself, and also we're sending you scholarship opportunities and things like that. Just say, got it, I'm doing this one. I'm not, just kind of communicate with us because we don't know. And when we don't know, we're on you. Are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? And then you're like, I'm overwhelmed, I don't like you anymore. So please just let us know that what you're up to so that we can have a clear communication.
Absolutely. And it's just good practice too, because next year it will also be colleges. Responding to you, reaching out, saying, hey, did you turn this in? And a lot of times it might be like, yes, it's on its way, but they still are going to send you that email. So the last thing, we are going to have some workshops to help you basically get started, hopefully complete, because it's amazing. When I was in college, and you guys all know I'm old, but like deadlines were not until like March, April. And now deadlines, priority, which we're going to encourage everyone to submit things priority for schools. They are in October, November. Like January 1st is kind of like the deadline. It didn't used to be like that, but what we want to do is we want to give you that support, and we want to give it to you over the summer, because I've told all students this, it really is kind of like an extra class of the amount of time it takes to apply to colleges, and then once you get into your colleges, applying for scholarships. It's an extra time that you have to really manage. But on June 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, we will have these workshops, and we're going to have kind of like experts come in for the FAFSA to help you fill it out. We'll do some prep before it. Yes?
What is that? What is the FAFSA?
It is the federal financial aid. And we're going to encourage everyone to turn it in. And we have a lot of support, but we will have an expert in here to help you fill it out. So my recommendation for all parents that when you are filing your taxes this year, to keep a copy of it handy, because they do ask for that information. But like I said, it is something that we don't want you to feel like I don't know what it is, and so I'm just gonna avoid it, because let's be honest, that's what we do when we're like, that's uncomfortable and I don't know and I'm just gonna push it off. Like, ask those questions, because if we don't know them, like Miriam, I'm gonna like the other day, Miriam at UIC, we were in a very large room and there were a lot of people, and she's like, Miss Newberry, will you ask this question? And I was like, yes, I will, And of course we're like in the back, and I'm like raising my hand and just being like, hey, so we will make sure that we ask those questions no matter what. So with that, I'm gonna hand it over to Emily, because she has some really exciting new information for us, so.
We're doing internships! Does everyone have a packet? I'm gonna try to talk really fast because we're getting close to the end of the night, and I know we all need a big stretch. I need a big stretch always. Does anyone not get one? Everything I talk about will be in here, so if I speak too fast, just please look at this later, and you'll be all set.
Can I click through?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Okay, so first things first, what is an internship? These are an opportunity to have real-world experiences outside job opportunities. And we're really excited for internships because you guys are about to go off to college, many of you, and you're gonna major in something that you think you might want to possibly pursue as a career. And then sometimes what happens is people spend a lot of money in college and they go pursue this career and they go, wow, that's not what I signed up for. But if you have all these internships beforehand, before you're paying the money for those college credits, before you get there, this is an opportunity to test it out and see if you like it or not. And and decide kind of where you want to go. So this is a great opportunity as well, and the Mastery Transcripts, to make yourself look different from all the other students that are applying to colleges. All right, so that's what an internship is. Who is eligible to participate next year? Juniors and seniors will both be eligible. We are so sorry that COVID happened. We would have loved to have had all of you participate in internships this year. Unfortunately, that just wasn't possible. We will make it up to you, I promise. You guys are gonna have great internships next year. I'm really excited to organize them for all of you, but just wanted to let you know that that's where we're at. Okay. They will take place in the winter trimester. So we just finished our winter trimester. This time next year, you guys will have completed your first, your internship in school, and that will be fun. Yay. For winter trimester, this is just like a sample of what your school day might look like that trimester. So you'll come into school, please do not be mad if this is not what it looks like. This is just a sample for now. So you'll come to school every morning, you'll have advisory most days. Instead of math being after lunch like it is now, it would be in the morning. And then you'd have 2 seminar opportunities. These might be different seminars that are important. And then you'll have your lunch opportunity to travel to your internship location, whatever that site may be. And then in the afternoon, every day, you will be participating in your internship. That's it. Very exciting. How will you be placed in your internship? So Ms. Newberry is going to be meeting with all of you guys to kind of find out what your interests are for college. I am going to start meeting with each of you individually as well to kind of find out how I can help support those college dreams. Or to give you an opportunity to try something that you're not sure about to see if you think you might like it. To support in both of those ways. So after you guys talk to Ms. Newberry, she's going to give me some of that information. I'll then meet with each of you and kind of find out what you're excited about. What are some opportunities? Some of you have had internships already, have had summer jobs, all sorts of things. I just want to support that and find a new opportunity that will push you in a different way. And these internships will be located all over Chicago. The goal is to get you guys out exploring and having those experiences. I will take all of you guys to your site. We will do a site visit together. We will develop a program with the site so that every student has their own training plan of like what goals they hope to achieve, what things they hope to learn, and so that the site supervisor really understands what that student's goals are and what they're there to learn about. And they will get feedback from their site supervisor. So they will get feedback midway through the internship and at the end of the internship saying, oh my gosh, this student is really excellent at communicating, but they need a little bit of work at writing emails that are articulate. I don't know, but all those real world skills that we're hoping to develop in our students. These are some important dates. So as I mentioned, those student meetings will be happening this April. I will be working to place students, and students will be working to find their own internships as well during spring and summer. In the fall, I will take every student on their own personal field trip with me, yay, to the site visit, where we'll draw up that training plan. We'll make sure that everyone knows how to take the subway or the bus there to get where they need to go. And then in November, we'll all come back together to have another parent-family meeting so that we can get any forms signed and answer any logistical questions or things that come up once this feels a little bit more real in November. And then the internships begin in winter. And then at the end, this time next year, is my hope that all of the seniors will get to present and share how their internship experience went, what they learned from it, and kind of share that with one another and our community, and to thank all of the sites that we were at for letting us take part. So that's a big general overview.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you. So with that, we have now, I feel like hopefully covered everything. Again, I hope that it wasn't too overwhelming, but it does just kind of let you know that we are busy in kind of like this pursuit to really support your students as they are kind of coming. I mean, can you believe it that like your child they're gonna be seniors soon. They're gonna be in their last year at this time, even with the pandemic, has gone by very fast. With that, this is all of our information, but does anybody have any questions that you'd like to, Andrew is still here. Thank you so much for staying here. Christina, Emily, Ms. Yeager, Mr. Ryer, myself, any questions that you have that we could answer or try and answer now, and if not, we can also follow up. Yeah.
So the kid are going to partake in the internship this summer?
If you want to do one outside of school, that is absolutely, I mean, any summer opportunities that you want to participate in, we will support you and try and help your student figure that out. But we will be formalizing in-school internships that I will be organizing for the winter.
Thank you.
Great question, thank you.
Is the internship has to be something that they are interested to, or it has to be anything like she's not like she's in one and they know like it's a good opportunity that she's doing, or it has to be something that she's interested to do in the future.
It can be anything, and we'll discuss it. So whatever is a good fit, either aligned with their college goals or aligned with their own personal goals or something that they just want to try and explore, that they, whatever seems to be a good opportunity.
Is every student required to do an internship, or is that optional?
Every student gets to participate in one internship. It's going to be great, I promise.
When students do go on to these internships, will that be taken into account as part of the transcript?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it will be a course on their, so the one thing I didn't show you on the transcript is that they have credits for competencies, but then they also have other courses that they've taken. It would be a course that they've taken. They can also use things that they did in their internship as part of their evidence if they want to apply it to a competency credit. So, for example, if a student is really interested in medicine and wants to do an internship at a hospital, they can take what they've done at the hospital and use it for evidence to get an advanced science and technology credit as well.
And that's where the training plans that we will be writing up with the site supervisors will be really important. So if the student knows, I'm going to be building websites and I want evidence for this for my computer science competency, then we'll build that into the training plan so that the site supervisor is also rating them on that, and then they can earn that competency.
Another question,
Yeah.
regarding the internships, have the students, have they been able to format like a list of possible interests or for these internships that, as faculty members, you could also, push them towards a specific,
Yes.
job-related thing they're interested in?
That's a great question. Yeah, so we have our Google Classroom that has a lot of outside opportunities already listed on it. We've also reached out to Bennett families as a whole to kind of say, hey, we're about to launch this really exciting program. Who thinks they might have an opportunity for some of our students? So we're going to collect that list of opportunities within our community. And then that's one starting place.
Okay.
Those are two starting places for our conversation.
Are you thinking also about, you're saying the student interests?
Yes, they're listed.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
So we're, we're
You can
gonna
match
do
them with something they like to partake
Yeah,
in.
absolutely.
My kid's too shy.
Not at all, yes. That's why I'll be meeting with every student. So the Seabury will be meeting with every student, and I will be meeting with every student too, to try to match what their
Okay,
interests are.
And can I just add too, like that might be something where a teacher might have that experience in a class and said like, oh, Julieta did such a great job doing whatever. You know what, that might really lend itself, and then they might actually have a suggestion. So I think that's the advantage of having such a small school, is that we have these conversations all the time, and so those conversations then, you know, I can have that with Julieta more on a one-to-one basis, and then we can kind of like go and let Emily know, and so we're all working together on that.
And then also, I can talk to your student and they might be like, I think we have these ideas, and then I can send that back out to the community and be like, hey, we have students who are interested in these things. Does anyone take us up on that or have any connections for us? And so leveraging all that.
Awesome.
I will say that to speak to that, the community has been wonderful about and we just this week when Emily, they put out an email, or Emily and Angie put out the email for people who are interested in connecting with our justice system PCL. I don't know how many was it, 7 field trips at this point? That
It was only like 3 weeks in.
Yeah, and we had a parent come in from the Innocence Project at Northwestern, and she spoke, and she was a parent here, she spoke to the students about her work was she on the show or was she not on?
She was the lawyer for the actual case.
Yeah, that was
I
in.
had to clear this up.
So she was the lawyer for the making of a murderer, and like, she was the attorney for the young kid who was accused, and she came in and spoke to all the kids, she's a parent here. So I will say that the community here is incredible as soon as the word goes out to find people that can be connected.
So that was a documentary on that.
Yeah, the documentary. Yes.
And, an amazing example, so now people know, oh, there's lots of different areas of law that I can get into, that law intersects with social justice, if I'm interested in social justice. So it kind of opens new doors.
Yeah, I think that's one of the parts is I have an interest in this, but I don't know what I can do with it. And that's also the internship. The process is to think, I didn't know people did that for a living.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that we want to make sure we add to that.
Awesome.
And I think now would be a great time to have those conversations with your students, to be like, hey, have you thought about this? Do you want to try this? So that when I do start talking to them after spring break, they can maybe come in and be like, okay, I have this list. What makes sense to you? And then we can take it from it.
You said that, like you said, like about the email, something about the internship. I did receive one. I asked her, is the parent that they have to answer me yes or no, or the students? Because I did receive one from you. It was about engineering, something like that.
Oh, yeah,
I did
I
ask her, yeah, and she said, she was interested too. Because you said, like, we have to give you an answer about it. And like, I didn't do it because like, she's not.
Yes, I just wanted to embarrass them into knowing that they had to respond to us. But probably, like, we do a lot of research about the kids, and that was just my email. I'm finding things,
Okay.
and I want them to be applying. And if the deadline is within a few weeks, then I send it directly to everyone so that they can have encouragement from you, and also that they can do it, and it doesn't get lost on because our list of external opportunities is pretty long now. There's lots of things out there. But if the deadline is approaching, I send it directly out to the community so that we can get started.
And I have to say, Ms. Yeager and I, we send a lot out, and our kind of motto is just apply. What's the worst thing? You say no, and a lot of them will be like, this is free, just apply, And, I think that teenagers don't usually have just fill out another application, Ms. Newberry. You make it sound so easy, and I don't really want to fill out another application if I'm not that interested in entrepreneurial things. You know what I mean? And I'm it might be good. Just try it. So we really do encourage them for everything, even if it is they find out they're not that good. I mean, one of the conversations I had with a student after the UIC experience, they were like, it was really boring, the presentation. And I was like, well, then maybe you'll be able to compare it to the next college you go to visit. I don't think that that's a bad thing where it's not a success. It's one experience, and then you're going to be able to compare it. So I know you encourage your children just as we do. So we know that we're on the same team. Yeah. Any other questions?
One more. Okay, so I'm just trying to take everybody's information and try to tie it all together. I heard you mention you want them to buy priority, but then I'm also thinking about the internships not coming in until the fall, and I'm thinking about priority deadlines being in November. So if they don't have enough time to kind of get the whole internship experience, how will they know whether they like it or not? And you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think that's when students, it will say on their transcript, it will say in progress.
Okay.
Now, so colleges will know they're doing it. But I think you're right in saying like, okay, let's say that my child thinks that they want to go into physical therapy, and then they go and do an internship with a physical therapist, and they're like, you know what, I don't know if I'm that comfortable touching other people's bodies and doing that, you know what I mean? But that's something that if they find that out, that's when they write to colleges and they say, actually, you know what, I think I want to change, and this is the reason why. And colleges want to know that. They want to know that instead of you're in the program and the entire time you're like, this is not what I want to do, and trying to switch after the fact. Because for some schools, it's really hard to switch. And I think I feel like that's where a lot of colleges are going, I don't like that. I don't think that 18-year-olds always know what they want to do. I think it is a good idea for them to try things out, but those are the conversations that we'll have too, because there will be those differences in colleges.
That's another reason why the summer is a good, so yes, I think maximize on your summer. You know, even if it's doing a little bit of research into what you think you might want to major in, or talking to us and maybe we can, you know, because we have networks too, right? We might be able to introduce you to someone that you can talk to.
I'll send you off to New York City, but it'll be great.
Anyone else?
Just a couple notes before Jen closes up. All of the documents that we've passed out tonight, we're going to send them home as well in email. We're going to email them to all to you as well, so you'll have copies of them as well. I forgot to mention there's a Mastery Transcript sheet there. I'll have ready for you guys on your way out. But we'll also have the slides. We'll send those to you as well. And we're streaming the presentation tonight. It will also be available on YouTube if you want to go back and remember what we said. So all those things will be available to you after tonight, so you'll have them going forward whenever you need them.
Well, thank you all so much. Like I said, we are really excited about this. We're excited for your family, for your students. And like I said, this time is going by really fast. So please always email, call, whatever we can do to support you and your student. Thank you so much. And please take food before you go, too. Thank you, guys.